isn't it wonderful to leave the house? You forget. You stay in your house all day by the space heater. You think that it's better in there. But you don't see dump trucks. And you don't see trash bags and empty streets either. It's wonderful to leave the house. Do it once a day. That's what I recommend. Let yourself get carried away. How much time you spend outside matters meaningfully in your life. You see the bartenders and the conversations, the television commercials, the Rite Aid security guards. Harvey Pekar, why are you always walking? Harvey Pekar, why are you always walking? You're walking. You're beating the ground with your footsteps. You're one-winding Cleveland, one sidewalk at a time. Harvey Pekar, Cleveland, Ohio. Reaching for the inspiration, trying to work it all out, eating your potato chips and the romantic tail lights, the empty storefronts, the blocks and blocks, disheveled homes, Christmas wreaths, 2 months spoiled, New York, Brooklyn, Queens Expressway, the magic carpet. Harvey Pekar, walk with me a while, bud. I love your comic books. They help me accept who I am. Appreciate that. It's not a night that could be anybody's friend. The Grand Prospect Hall looking quite fetching this evening in its American flag dress, swaying in the breeze. A little bit of the old glamour there, the Gilded Age, and then back into, the melting snow, the amputated lampposts. Oh, look at those gold, look how they shine in the street lamps. Shine, shine, shine. Most beautiful girl I ever made love to lived on this street, and you could see the Statue of Liberty from her porch. I remember the first night I went home with her. She was unlocking her door. We looked over. There was the fucking Statue of Liberty, and she said, "There she is. There she is with her torch. This woman representing liberty. Shine on, Lady Liberty." New York City is the only city in the world where when you're walking down a sidewalk, you probably have the same interior monologue as like a fucking race car driver driving the Indy 500. I mean, you got fucking places to be. Some old woman with a stroller, maybe a couple kids on either side. They're rolling 3 deep. They've, cut off the entire sidewalk. You're thinking in your head, God, this fucking... Get out of the fucking way. I gotta pull around him. So then you're going fucking, you're walking like 7 miles an hour. You're walking through trees, gardens, and you're going over trash cans to get around these motherfuckers. I've gone out in the street before. I've gone down into like the gutter. Time is important in this goddamn city, On the converse, if I'm walking really slow and some guy comes up behind me, just thinking, this guy's riding my fucking ass. Alright, go around, fine. I'll slow down, I'll move out of the way. That's when it's like, when you're just hauling ass down the sidewalk and you're sort of behind like 2 old bird watchers or something, they'll just give in a lot of the time. They'll just be like, they'll stop. They'll sort of get to the side and they'll be like, go right ahead if you've got someplace to be so fucking fast. Thrift stores are important sources of inspiration. You smell the musty old clothes. You can become your elders, you can make characters out of old-fashioned statements. They're beautiful places. My mom used to always take me to the thrift store, and I would climb on these iron rails between the racks and pretend I was running through the Death Star or something. When I was a kid, I could fit down in there. It's where I got all my clothes, all the clothes on my back, all the shoes on my feet. I love the South Slope. South of 9th Street, you can tell it's pre-gentrified, hasn't quite been gentrified yet. It will. Spike Lee, I just want you to know that I am doing absolutely nothing to make my neighborhood better. In fact, I single-handedly am leading a de-gentrifying force. I'm pretty sure that my average income is drastically reducing the per capita income of the neighborhood. I'm a complete drain on resources. I've never eaten a cupcake that cost more than $3 in my entire life. At the rate I'm going, I'll never be able to have children. I'll never have I couldn't even afford a stroller, let alone a child. I liked it better when it was all 99-cent stores and wig emporiums. The neighborhood's just going to shit, man. They put a fucking Whole Foods in. These fucking white people. I hate us, man. I agree with Spike. We are the fucking worst. Whole Foods, for Christ's sakes. On the Gowanus Canal, Spike. I'm on your side, buddy. I wish the Brooklynettes would just go away. These impoverished neighborhoods, full of the short-term pleasure. They're just malls. People are already fucking broke. Let's give them credit cards and let them buy PlayStation 4s on the fucking installment plan. Michael Jordan shoes. My home, these kind of second-rate places. Corporate squalor. This is where I belong. This is where the pleasures of my life were found. The 7-Eleven, the Radio Shack, the GameStop. It's just a different kind of welfare, shinier kind of serfdom. Gentrification's like some magic trick. All these people move in and change the place into something else. I don't want it to turn into anything else. I like it the way it is, I belong here. These are good people. They're working people. One of the things that's weird about New York is there is solitude here, but it's not the same as in a place where there's sort of distance and space. Here your solitude is a little more claustrophobic and kind of, it's like you're buried alive, It's that kind of solitude. But I read this book recently by this essay by Luxante. It was called My Lost City or something. Luxante as a writer he's Belgian, so he's got a little bit of a Rimbaud kind of mystery to him. Even though he's like a critic, he deals with these sort of ghostly kind of like undercard of life, And so he wrote this essay all about how when he first moved to New York, like he was friends with Jim Jarmusch, and they both lived on the Lower East Side, like in Alphabet City. And when they lived there, it was a deserted place. He compared it, I think, to like Wordsworth's Tintern Abbey. Like it was a place of solitude and freedom, very low financial responsibility, where there were sort of these ruins to contemplate. Like these tenement buildings that were just like falling down, or like he said it was not out of the ordinary to like come home and see just like buildings on fire, where like the landlord set an insurance fire, or just like they were demolishing it or whatever. So he paints this picture of this very desolate place, and you can see that in Jarmusch's first movie, especially Permanent Vacation. Which is all shot in that time period. And they kind of glorified this late 70s New York time period. And so, like, people are here my age are moving here just very much trying to tap into, like, this artistic, aura that New York has. And for me, it's just so clinical here now. Like, everything is so... on this other thing, I compared it to, like, a casino table that all the chips have been swept off. Like, if you get off a subway train at 4 o'clock in the morning, like, you're not going to see, like, there's desolation, but it's not, like, scary. Like, the darkness isn't some kind of fearsome, encroaching thing. It's just kind of empty. It's just the same kind of clinically depressed atmosphere that everywhere else is safe has, Like, New York is finally a clinically depressed place, It's got the same kind of boredom and safety and banality as other cities, So I was thinking like I've spent a lot of time just walking around New York, the West Village, or, all over Manhattan,
Not quite as much over Brooklyn, but, you know, this has been a very much, especially the first couple years I lived here, a city of deep solitude. You know, it was the first time in my life I was away from sort of like my coterie of friends that I grew up with. So I had long hours just to sort of walk. But, so, you know, but I didn't really see any kind of ruins. You know, like, I didn't think about, you know, everything seemed new to me. It seemed like, you know, New York ruin couldn't last that long, at least in this real estate market. You know, if you had a building that was going down, you could put up a glass tower easily, you know. And New York seems like it's been refurbished and cleaned up and clarified in a lot of ways. I mean, it's still about flux and it's still about juxtaposition, but it's much more about, it's a cleaner kind of corporate juxtaposition, you know. The safety of brands, you know, the convenience and the, you know, redundancy. But, you know, I realized my neighborhood, I don't know how I overlooked this for so long. I live by the Gowanus Canal, and you go down there, and it is crummy. It is ruins. It is desolate, you know, but it is a ruin that's not, it has a sublime decay and a sublime shabbiness, you know, that is not scary. You know, like, you don't walk down there and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna get, you know, stabbed with a needle that has AIDS in it or something. You know, you go down there and you're like, you can, there's nobody there. It's, you know, the signs are still intact, probably from 50 years ago when the fucking Brooklyn Dodgers played here, and there's, like, you know, a delicatessen. The sign is probably from about that same era, you know. It hasn't been totally fucked up with gentrification yet, although it will happen. And Bob Dylan had this really excellent quote about how, he said something about how he was the kind of person that empty parking lot spoke more to his soul than, you know, a lot of the so-called, you know, I'm paraphrasing here, like luxuries and finer things of mankind. And I've been thinking about a lot about that recently. Like, that's a very, you know, being that New York City doesn't have a whole lot of natural landscape to appreciate. I think one has to go to the sort of ruins of the industrial landscape and things like that, you know, like the South Slope and the Gowanus Canal, where there is kind of space and there's no inhabitants. You know, there's something very forlorn and sympathetic to your darkness about an industrial landscape. You know, especially if it's defunct. You know, it's dark and it's not a native environment for a human. You know, like anybody that would live in that environment is some kind of Edward Scissorhands figure or something, you know. So, I don't know, I'm beginning to feel a deeper kinship with my neighborhood and being stranded here in the wintertime especially, you know. I try to get out of my house for a little while every day, and that's what I do as I go for a walk, and I kind of contemplate the ruins.
Just here contemplating the ruins of gentrification. Just like in high school. The oxide white, piss yellow, rust orange. The native hues. Crucified unused furniture. New York is a city that's constantly in ruin. Constantly building itself back up again with all deliberate speed. Constantly being destroyed and constantly being created simultaneously. You know how they say, like, the body reproduces or, like, gets entirely new cells every 7 years? New York's kind of like that. Every decade or so, the 8 million people in the city are sort of sifted and changed out. The city reincarnates itself with other cells, as it were.